Okay, the division between the haves and the have-nots. And with that in mind, how are you going to pay for anything that you decide to do? Are you going to let that tax break for the extremely wealthy stand? I've read that when Eisenhower was president, I think there was something like a 70% tax rate on the extremely wealthy. And I just don't see things getting done if the people who are running for president are taking money from those extremely wealthy people. So I kind of got two questions or two comments in there about, are you taking money mostly from people who have less than $100 for you, and also that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is okay. Thank you for the question. Question about wealth and income inequality, and a question about how we got there in the first place. And you're speaking to the corruption that we have in our politics and in our government here today.
Everybody's bought off.
Everybody is bought and paid for. It's the only way that you explain, I don't know if we can get a little bit more volume in this, or also just, yeah. It's the only way that you can explain, at a time that we were $21 trillion in debt, that the president signed into law a $2 trillion tax cut that flowed to corporations and flowed to the very wealthiest in this country, at a time that corporations were sitting on record piles of cash and profits. Those corporations, through their lobbyists and through the Political Action Committee checks that they cut to members of Congress, literally wrote the legislation that was passed that stood to benefit them. So in this campaign, we don't take a single dime from a single PAC or lobbyist or corporation or special interest. It is just you and my fellow Americans to whom I answer and to whom I'm accountable at the end of the day. Because it doesn't only explain those tax cuts, it explains the high cost of pharmaceutical medications. You and I as taxpayers paid for the research and development, the investment, the innovation, the clinical trials, only to have those medications sold back to us at the most expensive rates on the face of the planet today, because those pharmaceutical corporations paid for those protections in that impunity. So we need to make sure that we make policy for everyone, have an economy that includes everyone. It's not just good for our economy, it's essential for our democracy. Theodore Roosevelt said something to the effect of, if you want true political democracy in the United States, you're going to have something approaching true economic democracy in the United States. If not every single one of us or every single one of our kids can see a future for ourselves in this country, then we will have no future as a democracy. So we absolutely have to get this right. What if we repealed the worst of the excesses of that Trump tax cut, ensure that corporations are paying their fair share, tax capital at the same rate that we tax ordinary income? To answer your question, we generate hundreds of billions of dollars that we can invest in healthcare, in education, in infrastructure. What if we ended these wars that we have been fighting without end all over the world, that have added trillions of dollars to the national debt, invested the savings back home in veterans who bore the battle in the first place, invest those savings back here in this country that they have just come home to? These are great opportunities for us, but we are not going to realize them unless this democracy brings in every single person, to the exclusion of all of those corporations. And that's precisely the way that we're running, and precisely how we get these things done at the end of the day. Thank you for asking the question.